The topic of the present course is about stakeholders and their relational aspects within the food systems. The most important aspects presented in the course are related to food systems, either local or global, stakeholders and their types, relational aspects among them that can be supportive or non-supportive. Some relevant examples of supportive relationships have been considered, as it is the case of the relationships between producer and consumer, producer and producer associations, producers and cooperatives, producers and hotels, restaurants and catering, producers and government administration, producers and civil society actors, producers and education research. Of course, the course has also in view the non-supportive types of relationships that may occur between producers and other actors involved in the food systems. In order to understand the complex and subtle interreactions of various stakeholders within the food system, it is important to start the course with the definition of the food system itself, which is an interconnected web of activities, resources, and people, including activities such as production, processing, packaging, distribution, marketing, consumption, and disposal of food. The organization of food systems, either local or global, reflects and responds to social, cultural, political, economic, health, environmental conditions, and can be identified at multiple scales from a household kitchen to a community, regional, national, or global level. For decades, global and centralized food supply chains and supermarkets provided the consumers a variety of products all year round. Due to globalization, advanced technologies and economies of scale in the transportation of mass volumes of products, consumers across the globe can access a variety of products all year round. The global food production and distribution system brought forward some concerns for the society, economy, and environment for acceleration of the disappearance of local agriculture. Conventional food systems were challenged and consumers questioned the food quality provided by conventional food networks and the sustainability of industrialized farming. With little knowledge of the place of origin and methods of production, some consumers of the globalized network found it uncomfortable to deal with. Recent years have shown an increasing interest in the local food systems. Many European countries started to find alternatives for regional food supply networks. Local food networks, along with fair trade, are part of alternative food systems. Direct farmers to consumer food distribution channels, regardless of the type, reduce the number of intermediaries in the food supply chain and connect producers with consumers. The elimination of numerous intermediaries secures the farmer's fairer share and ensures the traceability and higher quality standards of the products. Given the fact that the lecture is focused on stakeholders, it is important to understand what is a stakeholder. Thus, we may say that a stakeholder is an individual, a group, or organization that is somehow involved in or affected by the food system. More than this, with their actions and interreactions, they shape, reshape, or block the food system. It is a well-known fact that the food systems connect several sectors such as agriculture, food processing industry, distribution, retailing sector, but also education, state institutions, and civil society. For this reason, we may state that it involves a wide diversity of stakeholders in the fields of local food production and support, food access and health, food infrastructure and supply chain, emergency food, food policy, food and social justice, food systems research. After identifying several stakeholders in the food system, we can classify them into primary stakeholders and secondary stakeholders. The primary stakeholders are those that are directly engaged in economic transactions with the business, while the secondary stakeholders are all the other individuals or institutions who do not engage in direct economic exchange business, but with a stake, interest, or intermediary role in the activity. These stakeholders, either primary or secondary, can maintain two types of relationships. On one hand, there are supportive relationships, which represent the ideal type of stakeholder relationships because they support the organization's goal and actions, and they are characterized by a stakeholder who is low on potential threat but high on potential cooperation. Such relationships can exist between producers and consumers, producers and cooperatives, etc. On the other hand, there are also non-supportive relations, which are the most distressing type of stakeholder relationships. They are high on potential for threat, but low on potential for cooperation. For example, producer and competing farmers, producers and local or regional municipalities. The most important type of supportive relationship is that of the producers with the consumers. The short food supply chains have represented ways for creating new linkages between agriculture and society, producers and consumers. This linkage brings consumers closer to the origins of their food, since a key factor of these food supply chains is its capacity to regain consumer trust, guaranteeing food quality and by taking advantage of and strengthening the relations of proximity. The short distance between consumers and their food source helps to highlight and preserve agro-food products' attributes such as naturalness, authenticity, and cultural or territorial identity, attributes that can be highly valued by the consumer and may be lost in long food supply chains. Thus, a clear information regarding origin, producers, and the type of farming practices enable the food to be more desirable for consumption. Short food supply chains also enable the continuous exchange of information that helps consumers to identify the authenticity, attributes, quality, and origin of agro-food products. They seek to redefine the producer-consumer relationship by giving clear signals regarding the origin of the food product, using labels on the packaging or personal communication strategies. These actions enable the food product to reach the consumer embedded with information. Alternative food networks are very diverse and tend to prioritize such distribution channels like producers' market, delivery boxes, small producer shops, farm sales associations, institutional sales to school, amongst other forms of direct sales. Alternative food networks emerge as a result of political, cultural, and historical processes. These changes can be categorized in three types: direct sales, collective sales, and partnerships. In recent times, short food supply chains and local markets where farmers sell their products directly to consumers or with a minimum of intermediaries have flourished in all EU countries, both in rural and urban areas. They represent an alternative to conventional longer food chains where small farmers often have little bargaining power and the consumer cannot trace the food to a known producer or local area. Direct sales are the simplest form of short food supply chain and involve a direct transaction between farmer and consumer. They can take place on the farm, where the farmer has developed a shop, or outside, for example, at farmers' markets. Food products can also be delivered to homes through a basket or box scheme, especially in urban or peri-urban areas. Online shopping is another form of direct sale. Producers may also cooperate to sell their products collectively to individuals or consumer groups. These direct sales can be organized on a farm or in local outlets. Local food festivals or fairs are also a good opportunity for groups of farmers to exhibit and sell their products. In most European countries, organizations of producers participate in local public procurement for the supply of local quality food products for schools or hospital catering. Short food supply chain can also be found in the form of partnerships between producers and consumers, where partners are bound by a written agreement. Such partnerships can be seen in community-supported agriculture, which exists under different names in the European Union. Other examples of partnerships can be those with schools and universities, with prisons, catering, with hospital caterings, and with companies. Community-supported agriculture is a partnership in which consumers, usually called members, are associated with the producer's decisions and work and share part of the risk and rewards of production. Consumers are therefore directly linked to the farm and production of food. They usually purchase a share of the season's harvest upfront to cover the farm's yearly operating costs and receive in return a share of fresh, local and seasonal products grown according to the agroecological or organic farming methods. Other important example of direct interaction between producers and consumers is the farmers' market. Selling in local markets enables the farmers to have more interactions with the consumers and improves their operations by understanding consumers' demands. It helps the farmers to build long-lasting relations with the consumer and to enlarge the customer bases, to get involved in social interactions with other producers that can lead to more opportunities, to promote an exchange of knowledge related to health, safety, environmental concerns, and it supports the farmer in improving the social learning and help the producer to improve the quality of the products. Other types of supportive relations include the relationship between the producer and producers' associations. The supportive relations derive from the very objectives of these associations, and they have in view to defend and promote their interests, to represent the associated members in agreement with bylaws established, to organize services of advice, audit, juridical and technical assistance and others suitable for the interest of the partners, to take part when the public administration requests it in its institutions and organisms, and to promote cooperative training. Other examples of supportive relation can be considered those between producers and cooperatives. Cooperatives are essentially voluntary association of people with common economic, social and cultural needs and aspirations. These are largely autonomous and are jointly owned and democratically controlled by its members. Thus, the profits are consolidated and shared between the members of the cooperative. Cooperative organizations also help in availing loans at reasonable interest rates. They help in procuring and providing manure, seeds, pesticides, and other agricultural implements. There are various social and educational benefits as well to forming cooperative organizations. Through cooperatives, the farmers and their families also get hands-on training and education regarding how a democratic setup works. It also promotes self-government and provides sufficient training. It also enhances and encourages local leadership among the farmer communities. It works in developing the responsibility among the members, individual and collective, and they work as a bridge between the government and the agriculturalist. Other stakeholders, such as local retailers, restaurants, hotels, markets, street food vendors may source directly from local farmers and sell to local consumers. Given the rising attention paid by consumers to provenance and authenticity of food, communication about the localness of food is more and more frequent, as it may represent a factor of attraction, distinction, and therefore commercial success. Local retailers may benefit from having local food, especially origin food, in their assortments, especially when mainly addressing to external consumers, like tourists, given the importance of food souvenirs in the touristic market. Even local consumers may be attracted by local food in shops, both for daily consumption and for special occasions. Restaurants may promote local food to attract customers, emphasizing both the local provenance and typicalness of food prepared, together with local recipes and tools. Other supportive relationship is that between producers and government or administration. In countries with a liberalized economy, governments tend to play a regulating and facilitating role in food systems, while in others, governments more closely manage and even participate in food production, processing, trade, and retail. Even in liberalized economies, however, governments exercise a large influence on food systems through financial instrument, legislation and regulation, education and support for innovation. In many countries, the environmental costs of the food systems are not included in food prices. Governments could minimize negative externalities through environmental regulations and standards. Financial incentives could also promote the shift to more sustainable practices. The next supportive relationship makes reference to producers and civil society. There are many civil society groups actively engaged in the area of food systems and natural resources at both local and global levels. Some have more socio-economic goals, others are more concerned with health, environment and culture. NGOs sometimes have a large role in initiating changes in food systems and can help shape public policies. NGOs also influence the behavior of producers by a variety of strategies ranging from cooperation and mutual support to naming and shaming. The last supportive relationship taken into discussion in this lecture is the relation between producers and educational institutions. This relation is based on the following aspects. Educational institutions, organizations provide education to farmers, promote technological research and development in the food sector, increase the quality of the production, improve competitiveness, and promote modernization and diversification through scientific research and technological development. Besides the supportive relations already mentioned, there will always be non-supportive relations depending on the context, moment, position, and perspective of the various stakeholders within the food systems. Some of the most obvious non-supportive relations among stakeholders are related to consumer perception, in the way that some consumers are not willing to pay a high cost for the benefits of the local food. A second barrier is the gap between consumer demand and supply in terms of variety and season. Other examples are the unpredictable environment, the competition represented by conventional food networks, shortage of necessary skills, reflected in the lack of entrepreneurial culture in farmers, administrative burden reflected in restrictions on what they can sell in their on-farm shops, the burden of compliance with food hygiene law, and high cost for marketing. In the end, we may conclude that the partnerships and cooperation among various stakeholders represents the key to the success of all the local food systems, as long as these partnerships will include diverse key stakeholders in order to ensure an integrated, holistic approach. In case you have questions, please feel free to contact me. Thank you for your attention.